Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this simple striped baby or child sweater. So this sweater can be made in a variety of sizes, and for all of the sizing information please see the description box below. So this video is part 1, and for part 2 please see the description box below also. So thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. So the first thing that we're going to do for our jumper is we are going to make a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you want to take your yarn and you want to take your finger and you want to wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight. And there you have a slip knot. So once you have your slip knot, you now want to make your foundation chain. And for your foundation chain, you want to chain 52. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 52. So once you have made your foundation chain, we are now ready to move on to round 1 of our jumper. And for round 1, we are simply going to work 1 double crochet into every single chain. And we're going to start off by doing our first double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, here is the second, the third, and then the 4th. And into this chain we're going to do our first double crochet. So to do a double crochet, you want to yarn over and go into the 4th chain from the hook, then yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops. So there we have our first double crochet, and we're going to do that into every single chain along. So yarn over and go into the next chain and work your next double crochet, and then do the same thing into the next chain, and at the end of this row you should have 50 double crochets across, and that includes the chains that we skipped at the beginning. These chains count as our first double crochet. So I have just come to the end of round 1, and I have my double crochets all the way along, and I have one more stitch to work into, and whilst working this final double crochet I am also going to change colours. So I want my jumper to be stripy, and if you don't want to change colours then just work a double crochet as usual. But if you do want to change colours then I will show you how to do that now. So what we're going to do is we're going to change colours whilst working the final double crochet. So yarn over and go into the stitch and work a double crochet as usual, but do not work the last step of the double crochet. You want to leave these 2 loops on your hook and then drop the yarn that you're using and pick up your new colour and place this over the end of your hook and pull this through. And here you are finishing the stitch and finishing the row or the round, and also changing colours at the same time. And you can now fasten off or cut the yarn that you were using, leaving a tail to weave in later, and we are ready to move on to round 2 of our jumper. So we are now on to round 2, and we're going to start off round 2 by chaining 2 and turning, and I am using my new colour here. And for this round we are going to do 1 double crochet into 1 stitch and then 2 double crochets both into the next stitch. So my chain 2 counts as my first double crochet. So this is the double crochet for this stitch here. So into the next stitch I need to do 2 double crochets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to yarn over and go into the stitch, and I'm going to work over my ends. I'm going to take the ends that I fastened off here and place these over my crochet hook as well, and then go into the stitch, and that way this will save me from weaving them in later, so I can work over them to keep them nice and secure, and I don't have to spend hours weaving all of my ends in once I have finished my jumper. So I'm going to go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then I'm going to yarn over and go back into the same stitch and work another double crochet. So there I have 1 double crochet into the first stitch and 2 into the next. So into the next one, I'm going to yarn over and work 1 double crochet, and I am still working over my ends. And then into the next stitch, I'm going to work 2 double crochets. And you want to repeat this all the way along for round 2. So I have just come to the end of round 2, and I have one last stitch to work in, and this last stitch is actually the turning chain from last round. It's really important that you make sure that you are going into the turning chain at the very end. And into this last stitch, I need to work 2 double crochets, as I started off with 1 double crochet, and then I did 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way along. I need to finish off by doing 2 double crochets into this turning chain. So I have already worked one of those 2 double crochets, and whilst working the last one, I am also going to change colours. So this is the exact same thing as I did before at the end of last round. So I'm going to yarn over and go into the top of the turning chain, and I'm going to start working my 2nd double crochet, but I'm not going to complete this double crochet. I'm not going to do the last step. Instead, I'm going to drop my yarn and then pick up my new yarn or my new colour, place it over the end of my crochet hook, and simply pull this through. And I can now cut my yarn, leaving a nice long tail that I can weave in or work over. And I am now ready to move on to round 3. So we are now on to round 3 of our jumper, and this round is the exact same as round 2. So we're going to start off with a chain 2 and turn, and I'm using my new colour, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet into 1 stitch and 2 double crochets into the next stitch all the way along. So my chain 2 counts as my first double crochet for this stitch. So into the next stitch here, I need to do 2 double crochets into this one, not this one, as the chain 2 is the double crochet for that stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm also going to place my ends on my crochet hook, and then go into the next stitch and work my first double crochet, and then I'm going to go back into the same stitch and work my 2nd double crochet. And then you just kind of want to pull your ends like this so that they are nice and tucked under. And then into the next stitch, I'm going to do 1 double crochet, but then I'm going to work 2 double crochets both into the next stitch. And all this time I am working over my ends again. And you just want to repeat that all the way along for row 3. This is the exact same thing as row or round 2. So I'm just coming to the end of round 3, and I have worked that all the way along, and I have 2 more stitches left to work in. So I have worked 1 double crochet, and technically into the next stitch I should work 2 double crochets, and into the next one I should work 1 double crochet. But what we're going to do is we're actually just going to work 1 more double crochet into the next stitch. So into the next stitch here, you simply want to work 1 double crochet. So we should have 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way along, and then when you come to the last 2 stitches, just work 1 double crochet into the last stitch. So you do sort of have 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. And this is just going to give us a nice even number of 110. You should now have 110 double crochets along at the end of round 3. And if you don't, it's really important that you go ahead and correct that now before we move on to the next round. And also, whilst working this last double crochet, I want to change colours. So I'm just going to undo that a little bit so I get to the very last stage of the double crochet, and then I'm going to change colours in the same way as I have throughout this pattern so far. So to start round 4, we're actually going to join our big loop which we have here using a slip stitch. So we are going to join the end of this row, the end of the green, to the beginning of the green over here using a slip stitch. So what you want to do is you want to get the chain 2 or the turning chain that we made at the beginning of last row. So here is the turning chain, and here is the chain 1 and then the chain 2. So you want to go into the chain 2, into the top of the chain 2 or the second chain, and then work a slip stitch. And I am using my new colour here, so it can be a little bit difficult. You simply want to yarn over and pull through this loop and then this loop as well, and then pull tight. And there you have attached your work, and you need to go back and make sure that it is not twisted and it is all the right way around. And you can now chain 2 and turn, and there we have attached our jumper. And what we are going to do is we are going to add a couple of buttons down the side here to attach it, but it just makes it easier to get on and off of your baby or child. So we're going to chain 2 and turn, and for the next 3 rounds we are simply going to do 1 double crochet into every single chain. So for round 4, 5 and 6, into every single stitch we are going to work 1 double crochet. So this chain 2 is the double crochet for this stitch here, so the stitch that we worked a slip stitch into. So we're going to yarn over and go into the first stitch of this round and work a double crochet, and then yarn over and go into the next stitch and work 1 double crochet and the next one, and just do this all the way around. So I have just finished working my double crochets all the way along, and I'm going to work my very last double crochet. So my last double crochet is going to be worked here. I am not going to work into the very last stitch here, as the chain 2 is the double crochet for that stitch. So I'm going to work into the last double crochet here, not the middle one. So I'm going to work my last double crochet, and at the end of this round you should have 150 stitches around. You still want 150 double crochets worked in this round, and I would recommend going back and checking to make sure that you are not messing this part in the middle up here, as it would be quite easy to add in an extra stitch or miss one out. So go back and check that you have 150 double crochets around. And if you do, we are now going to work a slip stitch. As our work is joined from this point onwards, we need to end each round with a slip stitch. And we're going to work our slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 that we worked at the beginning of the round. So here is the chain 1 and then the chain 2. So you're going to go into the second chain and work a slip stitch. So yarn over and pull your yarn through, and then through again, like that. And you can now fasten off, so pull your yarn out and your hook, as from now on we are going to be changing colours at the beginning of each round. So we are now moving on to round 5, which is the second round of 3 rows of double crochet. And we're going to start off by turning our work, so you need to turn your work, and then we're going to attach a new colour. And the method that we use now to change colours will be the method that we use throughout the rest of our jumper or sweater to change colours. So we're going to start off by working a slip knot in the same way that we did at the beginning of the jumper or our sweater. And we are then going to go into the stitch that we finished off on. So we finished off in this stitch here, we worked a slip stitch in the centre stitch. So you want to go into that stitch, the one that you worked a slip stitch into. So insert your hook into the stitch. Remember that you must turn your work. And then you want to take your new yarn, and this is the yarn coming from the ball and also the straggler end, both pieces, and sort of place them over the back. So place them over or around the back, and then using your crochet hook, pick up both pieces and pull them through the stitch like that. And we're now going to take this last loop and this last loop only and pull this over the end of our crochet hook and then pull tight. What we're going to do is we are going to chain 2. So you want to chain 1 and then chain 2, and this attach a new colour in chain 2 counts as our first double crochet. And as this is our second row of 1 double crochet into every single stitch, we're just going to do that all the way along. Simply work 1 double crochet into each stitch along for this round. So once you have worked that all the way along for round 5, you want to work a last double crochet into your last stitch. And then to finish off this round, we're going to finish off with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 that we did at the beginning. So we attached a new colour, then we chained 1 and 2. So you want to go into the second chain and work a slip stitch, and you can now fasten off, so cut your yarn, and we are ready to move on to round 6.